Hey everyone, it's Daria, Mironova, and FL Teams. Today we're going to talk to Dave Mishkin, the Tampa Bay Lightning radio voice. Fans love him, fans know him. Besides being active in the community, Dave published a book. What is it about? Watch and learn. Hello, Dave. Thank you for your time and joining me.
Of course, Daria.
The hottest news out there is the Stadium Series logo. How do you like it?
I like it. I mean, I'm not really an artist, so I'm amazed at anything people can draw, but they seem to kind of encapsulate everything that you want encapsulated for an outdoor game in Tampa. They've got the boat. They've got kind of like the treasure map background. They've got the location. It was definitely appropriate. And again, I'm amazed at these people who can design and draw that sort of stuff.
Do you have in mind if you're gonna wear, say something special, or dress up for the game?
Well, I usually dress the same for games, even though I'm on radio. I tend to wear, coat and tie. Now, this is not my first outdoor game because the Lightning played an outdoor game in Nashville back in 2022, and I'm trying to remember. It was actually like it was chilly, like which was good. They were maybe a little worried, like what would the ice be like? That was a Stadium Series game too. I think it was in early February 2022, and or mid February 2022, and the weather was chilly.
Hmm.
So it was appropriate that I had not just the coat and tie, but an overcoat as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to need an overcoat for early February in Tampa, but I will probably just dress as I usually do.
What about something about pirates, like "Ooh, hooray!" Making voices? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be fun. Maybe I should reconsider. I don't know. I have no pirate wardrobe stuff though, so I should probably ask some people who have done the Gasparilla parade if they have any hand-me-downs and wear those. It would be hard to fit a headset though over a big pirate hat, I think.
Also, in the news, your book, Blind Squirrel, because of the cute title, and then, I mean, it looks cute too. I assumed it was baby's book, kid's book, but it's not.
I mean, it's up to every parent. I would not recommend this for you like a young child, but by the time a kid hits maybe 10, 11, 12, it's really up to the parent. And so I recommend that the parent read the book first, as you did. And you said, all right, I might wait a year or two. Other parents may feel a little differently. But it's definitely not, so it's not, juvenile fiction.
No.
I've read some YA books, though, that would make Blind Squirrel blush. So, I mean, we have to understand that, kids are reading material that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, their parents
Oh,
would be
yeah.
like, what? Um, I think that what makes Blind Squirrel a little different is not that there's anything like sensational in there, but it deals with some themes that, typically adults are thinking about and maybe not kids, like trauma, recovery, um, the complexity of relationships sometimes. My protagonist Noah is going through real life stuff. And, for some parents of kids, they're like, I don't want my kids having to worry about this yet. They'll have plenty of time for that. But I know that you got the book and you read it and enjoyed it. So I'm very appreciative for everybody who was taking the time to get it, and not just get it but read it. And so many people have given me positive feedback that they really enjoyed the story, and that was really what I was going for when I wrote it, to try and put something out there that people could feel they could connect with.
Yeah, and while I was reading it, I had questions, but you did a great job providing many details at the end of the book. So, for people who do not know anything about it, let's explore a little bit. Why did you decide to write a book?
Yeah, so I had the idea for a story arc, and the story arc that I had the idea for in the late 2000s is, in fact, the story arc that's in the book, which is a minor league hockey player. Has had a very successful career, but he's silently struggling with his mental health. He suffers a childhood trauma. His parents die in a car accident when he's 12, and he's kind of buried this within him. So he's not really leading his best life. Then he sustains an injury and is forced to retire. And it's at that point that he's able to begin the healing process. And the guy at the end of the book is in a much better place than the guy at the beginning of the book. So that was the story arc and the idea that I had to write a novel. but it took me a while. I got started and stopped. I wasn't happy with what I had produced. I kind of put it away and didn't think about it. And I went back to it in 2022, and the story came together for me kind of between the years. And then I was able to write it during the summer of 2022. And the editing process kind of took about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year. It's a lengthy process, which I didn't know anything about when I started writing, but I got an education in that, and we published the novel in the spring of 2024. Um, but yeah, so like there is hockey in it, but it's not really a hockey book. It is a book that has sports in it, but it's not a sports book. And I wanted to write a novel that was accessible for people who enjoyed hockey, like yourself, enjoy sports, but also people who maybe don't really get too excited about sports, but are interested in kind of a character driven story with a feel good message.
Yeah, because you also explained some hockey stuff in the book, and I was like, oh, that's for people who don't really care about hockey. Now they know.
Yeah. Yeah, that was tricky. So, you attended an author talk that I had last week, and what I explained to the group was in some ways the hockey was some of the hardest to write
Hmm.
because look, if I'd written a book exclusively for people who were really knowledgeable about hockey, it would have been different. But as
Hmm.
I said, I wanted to write something that was accessible to people who don't know as much about hockey or anything at all. So I had to give some basic information so that I could utilize my expertise, right? Like if I'm going to write a novel with hockey in it, I might as well, write what I know and put in some stuff that's higher level. But I had to educate people so they could understand the higher level stuff. But I didn't want to make it a boring hockey 101 book. So I had to integrate bits and pieces to introduce terms, basic rules, kind of the idea of what's happening in a play, um leading up to kind of the point where kind of the game is happening and the reader is in the middle of it and you're on the ice or you're in the locker room and all this stuff is happening. And every sport has its own language,
Hmm.
and people who are well versed in hockey or in baseball or in football can speak that language fluently. People who are not well versed don't really know the language. Like they can describe what they're seeing, but they're not maybe using the right words. So that is part of it too. So that, I'm able to write a novel utilizing proper hockey terminology, almost shorthand, right? But getting people educated to the point that they were able to follow along, even if when they started the book, they didn't really know much about hockey at all. So for people like yourself who are like, all right, I know all of this, but you could recognize, okay, I understand that
Hmm.
Dave is kind of setting the table here to explain maybe for people who don't know and set the stage for what's going to be happening later. So like Noah's the center, right? So he's got his two wingers. They are aligned. Like that's a really important component to kind of what they do on the ice. People who don't know anything about hockey are like, well, what's a line?
Hmm.
Like I didn't realize that, the same three players tend to go out together,
Hmm.
every time they are called to go out on the ice. Other people just, played until they stopped and, got to the bench, or I didn't know there were different positions. What, there are three forwards and two defensemen on the ice. That's how they comprise like who's on the ice at a certain time. And the chemistry that Noah builds with his line mates, particularly, his protege, who's a 20-year-old rookie that he kind of takes under his wing, who's immensely talented, but raw. Like that relationship is a really important part of the novel, but it's deepened by the fact that they are line mates, right? So
Hmm.
they're on the ice together and they have to understand what each other is doing. So
They have
just like
chemistry.
jumping in and just being like, well, and he's Russian, Ilya Kuznetsov, like Ilya Kuznetsov and Noah Nicholson like play together and they're line mates. And like people who don't know anything about hockey are like, well, I don't know what this means.
Hmm.
So I had to give some basic information like, oh, okay, a line is comprised of three forwards. And like Noah arrives at practice and his coach tells him, we got this new prospect in. I'm putting him on your line. So now we have a dialogue to kind of explain in a storytelling way, kind of like, okay, this is what's happening here. And that was challenging, honestly, Daria, because like the knowledge I have, not all of it needed to go into the novel. So I'd write a bunch and then take a lot out because I didn't need it in there, right? I just needed enough to advance the story and kind of advance the theme of what I was trying to say.
We say writing, but did you actually write or type?
Yeah, I didn't actually handwrite. When I tried it the first time, I
Mm.
actually did handwrite in a notebook, but I had so many scribbles and changes, it just turned into a mess. So what I did was I did a lot of thinking first.
Mhm.
And I explained that, I kind of needed to think about the story before I sat down to type it. Yes, that's the right way of putting it. And when I sat down to actually compose the text, I wouldn't say that it was just like lickety split, kind of how I crafted sentences and how I kind of built scenes. That took a little time, and there was some starts and stops and like editing as I was writing it too. But for the most part, I kind of knew what was going to be happening, so it became easier to get it on the screen as opposed to just kind of making it up as I was going along. I had already done a lot of that,
Mhm.
thinking about it ahead of time.
Let's talk about Ilya Kuznetsov. You already introduced him.
Yeah.
So, who is that guy? You've met a lot of Russian players, and I feel like he's a mix. He's not just one guy that you knew.
So I never. So I mean, really, I spent 11 years in the minors
Mhm.
and 8 years in Hershey, where the novel is set. At least the hockey part is set there. I don't know that anyone ever came through Hershey who was exactly like Ilya Kuznetsov,
Mhm.
but kind of what he encompasses is just like a joy of playing and a little bit of a recklessness to him because he's like a little kid, right? And there's a theme throughout the book too of like Noah is not really crazy about little kids because for reasons unrelated to the hockey part of it, but just like he kind of likes to keep his life in order and little kids cause disruption. At the same time, he really is kind of a mentor or parent figure to a lot of people in the book, including Kuznetsov. So the guy I created that would kind of connect with Noah and Noah would connect with him, they kind of have this almost like mentor mentee relationship. So I have certainly seen immensely talented younger players that have a great enthusiasm for the game, but needed to learn what they could get away with and what they couldn't
Mhm.
once they hit the pro game. Because players who are the best at their level when they're 16, 17, and 18 can basically do whatever they want. Once they hit the pro game, some stuff they can get away with, some stuff they can't. That is so that's part of Kuznetsov's journey too. Like he just is like, I can do whatever I want because I'm me. And Noah's like, okay, some of it you can do, sometimes you can't. And that's part of learning to be a pro. Um, but he is one of the characters that I felt I just got to know really well thinking about him. And he's one of them. But like when I said I didn't just sit down and start typing,
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time kind of thinking about the story. And as I was thinking about the story, I spent a lot of time with the characters and thinking about them and kind of what made them tick. And there are Russians that I have met that have followed a similar path that Kuznetsov followed, which is they came to North America as teenagers. They didn't speak a word of English. They got stuck with some billet family and they kind of just learned. And some Russians kind of hit the pro level and they hardly speak it. They need another Russian on the team to communicate. Others are almost completely fluent. Sergachev is a great example of that. Now he was at the NHL level, but he got to the OHL and in a couple of years basically taught himself English. He's a pretty bright guy. Anyway, but like when I met him as a 19-year-old, I mean, he spoke English fluently. There was just a touch of an accent there, but that was it. Um, so what Kuznetsov was able to do, like Noah meets him, he's like, your English is really, really good. Like that I've experienced. I've seen young Russians come to, and it's quite a daunting step, like leave your home, leave your family, leave your friends, leave where you're comfortable, go to this strange place, strange people, different rink smaller, different language, and excel. is really remarkable. And I've seen that. So I knew that that was authentic, that there are players like Kuznetsov who did that. Um, and also like, I don't know if there's a stereotype of like the Ivan Drago, kind of like, oh,
Oh,
serious,
wow.
Russian. But like, I've met plenty of Russians who are just like happy go lucky, fun loving, great sense of humor. And Kuznetsov's like that too. Like, he's just so like effervescent and happy. And, he looks young. I gave him like baby face, right? Like, which is a point in the book that, he gets teased for a little bit, but he looks young, he acts young, but he's got this immense talent. But he's also got a joy to him that comes through with his playing and also in terms of how he interacts with the people around him.
He also has a crazy diet.
Yeah, so that is something else. So he arrives as a pro player and basically he eats fast food because that's what he's exposed to. And also I think that's changed a little bit, Daria. Like, the junior players now are so much more aware of everything. They watch their diet, they go through training regimen and all that. When this novel is taking place, it's kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was not uncommon for junior players. They just kind of, again, it was kind of like how they played. They just did what they did, right? They wanted a, fast food meal. They just went and got fast food. For Kuznetsov, his billet family eats fast food. So that's what he eats. He likes fast food. And Noah's like, you're a pro now. Like, you need to learn your diet is really important to being a pro. And kind of, it's not that he's going on a diet, but he changes, like, eat vegetables, right? Like, have a salad, avoid the fried food, no fast food. And it'll help you become a better athlete and a better pro. And so he learns that too. But again, that was not uncommon. Like, I saw players kind of reach the pro game and, they're going to get basically cheap food because they weren't earning money,
Mhm.
right? They were getting a stipend and they were just getting food, and it didn't matter. Like, it didn't affect their performance. Pro game's a different game, right? And now even more so. Like, most players, I think, are on, if they aren't on like super crazy, like really regimented, eating routines, at the very least, they are aware of what they should put in their body and what they shouldn't.
The usage of professional teams' names, right?
Yeah.
Teddy bears are okay, but we also have this tiger sharks, San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco tiger sharks, and I actually questioned myself. I was like, was there a team like that?
Yeah, and I didn't reference that at the end of the book. I put some stuff in the author notes, which wasn't I don't have a long segment on the author notes, but I put some stuff in there thanking some people. But I gave the explanation at our talk. So what I learned was, so the first draft, basically I just put regular team names in because I didn't know any different. And what I learned was that in some instances I needed to get the team's permission to use the name because all these team names are copyrighted, like they're protected.
Mhm.
So the difference would be like if some event happened that is like basic knowledge,
Mhm.
like the New York Yankees won the World Series in this one year, you can have a scene in your book where like people are watching like the Yankees exist, right? It's okay to mention the Yankees. And particularly if you're using them in a factual way, it's like it's a made up story, but like within the made up story, you're referencing something that actually happened. Like the Yankees won the World Series in 1977. You're fine. That's totally acceptable. But if you're creating a player who's playing on a team, that is a little trickier. So I wanted to keep the name Hershey Bears. So I actually went through their organization and their legal department gave me permission basically to use their name. But I have all these other names, right? So I was like, all right, let me just kind of come up with an adjacent name just to protect myself. And probably would have been fine, Daria. I mean, but like you mentioned, the San Francisco Tiger Sharks, obviously the San Jose Sharks are close. So I kind of modeled this team after them. People were like, so they were the affiliate of Hershey. And people were like, why would a team in California affiliate with a team in Pennsylvania? So in like the late 90s, early 2000s, Hershey was actually affiliated with Colorado, which is not on the West Coast, but it's not close. Like Hershey to Colorado is not drivable unless you're going to take a couple of days. But there were teams like the California teams didn't have affiliates in California or close like they do now. So, during my time in the AHL, the Sharks were in Kentucky, they were in Worcester, Massachusetts. So, like, it was not uncommon. At one point, the LA Kings were in Manchester, New Hampshire. I mean, that's a long distance. So it was totally fine to put an affiliate all the way across the country. And I wanted the affiliate to be far away to give it separation. So Hershey was kind of its own entity. Also, like Kuznetsov arrives, his flight's delayed. Like it just made it easier to put the NHL affiliate far away. But so could have I used San Jose Sharks? I probably could have, but I didn't want to kind of kick the hornet's nest. So people like you will be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But most people just like they blow right by it. And it wasn't something that they commented to me about. Now I did use NHL and AHL and was kind of given advice that that's fine to use that because those are people understand that they are the NHL is the major league, the AHL is the top minor league. It's okay to mention them, but all the other team names besides Hershey Bears for hockey, I made up.
Now we know.
And now you know. Yes.
You have a service dog, Stella. We can see her picture behind you.
Yeah. It's actually not her, but it is one of her breed. Yeah. My wife got me that for Christmas.
Okay.
So we got the picture frame.
Stella looks like that.
Stella looks like that.
Yes. So your book and your community service, do they go together? Because I feel like you have some sort of special mission outside of your work to save the world, make it better.
Yeah, you're making me out to be a much better person than I really am. I think the common denominator here is that it's really the Lightning. So I have a full-time job as a play-by-play broadcaster, and it's not just doing the games. I do other stuff as well with the Lightning, for the Lightning. I'm responsible to make sure I can call the games as well as I can, showing up to the practices, et cetera, going on road trips. I write for the website, not fiction, just I write a post game after every game. I try and do, kind of a column overview of the Lightning or the league every few weeks. But I'm not expected to kind of come in every day and punch a clock. So I don't know how many broadcasters do, but what the Lightning have been great at for me, and now I've been with them for over 20 years, is kind of giving me the flexibility to pursue things that are important to me. So, I mean, the novel I kind of did on my own time during the summer, which, was kind of really off season. But they were great in helping me promote the book, which was, a huge boost to me. And, they were fine in linking me with a mental health organization, right? Tampa Bay Thrives, I partnered with for the novel. That kind of came through the Lightning. But they also, were totally fine when I got, Stella. We've always been a big animal family, but we got her right at the beginning of COVID. And within a couple of days, I recognized she would be great at therapy. So everything was kind of shut down clearly during the spring and summer of 2020, everything was shut down. But as we got into the fall and then 2021, things started opening up. And I was like, I'd really like to get her certified as a therapy dog. And the Lightning helped set me up at Tampa General. We have contacts there because the two organizations work together. And so it's really that the Lightning have given me the flexibility to pursue things that are important to me or that I want to do. So I wanted to write a novel. They were like, great. I wanted to do this with, a dog that we got that I thought would be really good at it. She likes it. I like it. Clearly, we're having an impact on more her than me, but the people that she meets when she goes in there. And that's very rewarding. But, like I could go to the Riverwalk when they have an event and pick up garbage. I'm fine with that. Like the Lightning have events like that where the staff gets involved. but they are very much about outreach. So when I went to them and said, I'd really like to do this, they totally gave me their blessing and helped me kind of get going on it. So it's really about stuff that I want to do and having an employer that gives me the freedom to do those things, because I'm not expected to, be in at 9 a.m. every day and stay until 5 and later when there are games. Minor leagues, it's different. In the minors, I was working Monday through Friday, full days, plus games, weekends, because the staffs are smaller. At the NHL level, my job is to basically be a broadcaster and anything else the Lightning asked me to do. But it's not like I need to go in and kind of put in time in the office. So that frees me up to do other things.
Yeah, we're gonna go into that. I know you graduated from Yale. That sounds fancy.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy.
Is that when you decided that you want to be broadcaster?
Yeah, so I chose the non-fancy profession as opposed to a lot of my
Oh,
classmates who went on to graduate school, law school, medical school. But yeah, I was in college and I started doing college radio and loved it. So Yale's hockey team is Division One. They were not very good when I was there. They got good after I left, a few years after I left. They actually won the national championship in 2013. So even though the team that they fielded during my 4 years there wasn't one of the top teams in their conference, they were still playing Division One. So a lot of the teams that they played had players that would go on to play pro, go on to play in the NHL. So the caliber of play was very, very high. It was really the highest that you would see at the college hockey level. So I got a lot of experience. I did all the sports, but I did a lot of hockey, particularly my junior and senior years. And I figured that there'd be less competition for hockey broadcasting jobs than some other sports. And also I knew that hockey was a sport that had a minor league system, and all these minor league teams would have, like, they would have openings for broadcasters. At least they would have broadcasters. I didn't know if they'd have openings, as opposed to like football and basketball is a little different. Like there's not really a minor league system for those sports. It's more that like you almost have to be in the right place at the right time or do college. Like you get hired as the college broadcaster. Baseball and hockey do have the minor league system, but I figured there'd be more competition for baseball jobs. And frankly, I had more experience doing hockey than baseball because I just didn't do as many baseball games as I did hockey when I was at Yale. So it's not a technical school. It's not a vocational school. It's a liberal arts university. Is one of the best schools in the world. But I actually got kind of, in addition to the liberal arts education, which I got, I actually built a skill
mhm,
through my extracurricular work that was able to land me a job right out of school in the minors.
mhm. Yeah, you graduated. What's next?
Yeah, so I got a job in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which had a team in the ECHL, which still exists. The Johnstown team is no longer in the ECHL. They're now a junior. They basically have a junior team. Um, but look, they had an opening. They brought me in. I was 2 steps below the NHL, which that mattered less to me. It was more that I had a chance to do something that I love to do. And probably in my last couple of years in college, I'd done maybe a total of 50 to 55 games. The schedule is not as intense. I wasn't able to go to every game. When you're working for a team, it's completely different. So that first year in Johnstown, I think I did close to 78 or 79 games, including playoffs. So just think about the experience you're getting and the reps. It's like playing, right? I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it, right? So that's transformational. Like once you get the job with the team and you're doing all these games, not only are you working on your craft, you're also kind of building a reputation. You get to be known within the circle of kind of the hockey world. And as people who you work with move up, they know who you are, right? And that's kind of how it happened for me, particularly from Hershey to Tampa, because Jay Feaster was our GM and Hershey hired me in Hershey when the Lightning job opened. He was the general manager with the Lightning and was obviously instrumental in helping me, get the job. But that's just real world stuff. Like, I mean, it's not who you know, like wink, wink, nod, nod, but who you know matters because they can kind of vouch for you. They can speak for you. And, that's usually needed on some level. I mean, sometimes, yes, you can just apply for a job, particularly if it's kind of like a performance job where you're sending in a demo or, you're sending in a video of your work as, you're an actor, a singer, or whatever. But it definitely helps if somebody can kind of vouch for you and say, I know this person, I know their work ethic, I know they show up on time, I know they're team first. All these things are important in addition to the actual work on air. Um, but yeah, so I started in Johnstown. I was there for 3 years, and then I got the job in Hershey, which was and still is one step below the NHL, and I was there for 8. So in 11 years, I probably called close to 1,000 games in the minors. So
Mhm.
I had a lot of experience that I was able to gain and a lot of reps so that when I got the NHL job, I don't know that if I knew, yes, I'm ready,
Mhm.
because you never know if you're ready, but it was almost like if I'm not ready now, I'm not sure I'm ever going to be ready after 1,000 games.
And you are very technical at your job. You follow the puck, yet
Mm-hmm.
you get very loud and emotional in a good way.
Almost right away, those were two elements that I wanted to incorporate. I mean, I didn't sound then like I do now as, 18, 19-year old.
Mhm.
My voice that probably sounded a little different. It was probably a little bit more pipsqueaky when I got excited. I made the choice to follow the puck more than less on radio. I felt that that was something that I wanted to hear if I were listening. There's nothing wrong with leaving the puck, and some announcers do that where they like throw in a little like narrative, they give background or they set the scene or whatever. And I made the choice from almost the get-go that I wanted to stay on the puck or the ball or whatever. I mean, it's the same no matter what sport it is, and be as uber descriptive as I could because the the audience member can't see what's happening on radio. And I always liked announcers for teams who got excited when something good happened for that team because I was cheering for that team and I wanted to incorporate that. So again, I probably don't sound quite the same way as I did when I started. I know I don't sound quite the same way I did when I even got the job with the Lightning. Like
Mhm.
I listened to some of the calls I had in the '04 playoff run and my pitch is a little different than it was for the later cup runs and wins. Not that one is any better than the other. I think that's just you age, your voice matures maybe a little bit even more from my 30s to my late 40s and 50s. But those are two components that I kind of started with from the get go, and haven't abandoned them.
Do you miss hockey?
I like the season when the season is going on. I enjoy doing the games. I enjoy the rhythm of the season. So I have two big breaks in my or shifts in my life
Mhm.
every 6 months. One is going from in season to off season. One's going from off season to in season because things slow down a lot during the off season. And so when I'm in season, I'm like, boy, what am I going to do during the off season? It's not every summer that I have a novel to write. And then when I'm in off season, I'm kind of like, I kind of need to get going again, once the season starts and I recognize that the pace is going to pick up. But it's never as much of an abrupt change as I think. Like once we get into off season, I do find stuff that I'm doing and filling time, taking the dog to TGH. I have more opportunity to do that. I have different projects that I'm working on last summer and this summer to some extent, promoting the book and doing events. Um, so yeah, my time does get filled. There's more downtime. I would agree with that. Um, but I don't know that you asked about missing the hockey. I'm not sure that I miss the hockey because I like to think that my life is full enough that I've got other stuff going on. But I definitely enjoy it when the season is happening, and I enjoy doing a job that I love. Um, and as I said, kind of being in the rhythm of the day to day kind of ups and downs of a season, an 82 game season.
Yeah, but this upcoming season is going to be very different. The Olympics break. What are you
Yes.
going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, we've had those before. So and I'm going back a few years, but I remember the Olympic break in '06. I remember the Olympic break in 2010. I remember the Olympic break in 2014. And then, the NHL players didn't go in 2018. They were supposed to go in 22, but they switched gears because we had a lot of outbreaks due to COVID variants and teams had games to make up. So they ended up not going, but we had a break last year for the Four Nations. So I don't know. I mean, it's a lengthy break. I mean, it's like 3 weeks. So Greg Linnelli and I do a show Monday through Friday, 12 to 1. That's something else I enjoyed during the season. We actually kept it going on a weekly basis after the Lightning were eliminated all the way into the beginning of July. So, I mean, we stayed pretty consistent with that. So I'm guessing we're probably not going to do all 3 weeks, but we'll do some in the beginning of the break and some near the end of the break, I would guess. And then I don't know. I'm not entirely certain, like it'd be nice to say my wife and I would just go take a vacation, but she has a job. So what's that?
Write another book.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can crank one out in 3 weeks. But it's kind of like the off season. I'm sure I'll find ways to fill my time. But you're right. It is going to be interesting because the players that don't go, that's a significant layoff.
Yeah.
And like what kind of condition? It's not even the condition, but it's like the game shape, right? Coming back, are they going to be able to kind of pick up right where they left off? And then for the players who do end up going, it's in Italy. Like it's not in Boston and Montreal like the Four Nations, where it's a fairly easy, commute. So I'll be interested to see kind of how the players handle whether they're playing in the Olympics or not. Are you disappointed that Russia does not have a team or?
Well, I'm used to it by now. It's been 3 years. If you look at the names, it would be incredible team.
Well, for the Lightning, Kucherov and Vasilevsky will definitely get a nice break. And I'm sure Kucherov will probably be working hard every day.
That's what I wanted to say. I don't think Nikita Kucherov wants a break because he works nonstop.
Yes, he does.
So I don't think he will be excited about the break. And my last one.
Yes.
How do you take care of your muscles, your voice muscles?
I should probably do more than what I do, which is not much. I probably have been told many times I need to drink more water than I drink.
That's it?
I don't. Well, I don't know. I drink coffee. That's probably not the best for vocal cords, even though I like it. So here's what I will say.
Mm-hmm.
I get noisy, but I'm not getting noisy throughout a whole game. I'm not like a fan screaming if they're screaming the whole game. Most of the time, I'm kind of talking at this level, and I do get a break, with the intermissions and stuff like that. So the points that I'm really elevating are, you could probably count on, if not, one hand, two hands. So, and then I got a break, right? It's not like I'm doing 5 games in a day. So I do remember the 5 overtime game in 2020, the first game in the bubble that the Lightning played in the playoffs against Columbus. And that was a challenge. But again, like I'm elevating usually when there's something like a goal. Clearly there wasn't one for almost, 5 periods, or like a dangerous chance. And even there weren't a lot, like once you got into deep into that game with first overtime, second overtime, third overtime, there just were not a lot of scoring chances. So it was more just the repetition of talking at this level. But knock on wood, I haven't had any voice issues.
Do you have advice for the young guys, girls who are about to graduate and looking for a career in broadcasting?
You kind of have to be flexible. When I graduated college, there was no social media component where, people have to put together reels now. I think it's kind of comes with the territory. But I always have believed that the best way to get better at something like this is to do it. So however you can get reps, do it. If you had a chance to do it in school, great. If you are graduating and you don't actually get that first job like I did, where you're getting the 70 plus games, find a way to practice, because you won't get worse. Like, I mean, you will invariably, the more reps you get, the more seasoned you become at it. And so that would be the one piece of advice. And then the rest is a lot of just It's kind of like throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, right? The stars kind of need to align for you. But you have to put yourself in a position so that you can look up and see that the stars are aligned. So, get your reps and try and put together the best demo that you can. And don't worry about spreading yourself too thin. Like you have to kind of blanket the entire region, whatever the region is. If it's, you want to stay in your time zone, you want to stay in the United States, or you want to stay in North America, whatever it is, like try and leave no stone unturned, because you never know where that first job is going to come.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you, Daria.
so much. Thank you.